You know, when a marriage breaks down, the emotional side of things is, well, it's immense. But underneath all of that, there's a legal framework, a kind of rule book for navigating one of the toughest chapters in anyone's life. So today, we're going to open that book and take a look at the tools the law provides when a relationship ends.
It's a question nobody ever really wants to ask, but a lot of people have to. What exactly are the rules for ending a marriage? And you know what? The law doesn't just give you one single simple answer. Instead, it offers a whole set of different legal paths, and each one is designed for a very different situation. Honestly, the best way to think about all of this is like a legal toolkit. I mean, you wouldn't use a sledgehammer to fix a leaky faucet, right? It's the same idea here. The law gives you different tools, or what lawyers call remedies, for different problems. Some of these tools are designed to actually try and fix the relationship, while others are for taking it apart as cleanly and fairly as possible.
All right, first up, let's look at the tools in the kit that are not about ending the marriage, but about hitting the pause button, to give it a chance to be saved, or, at the very least, to create some breathing room.
So our first tool is one you've probably never even heard of. It's pretty wild. Imagine one partner just up and leaves the marriage without any good reason. The law actually has a remedy where the other partner can go to court and ask for an order for them to come back. It's like the legal system's version of a rewind button, trying to get things back to how they were.
Now, let's be super clear about this. A court isn't going to force someone to love somebody else. This is a very old remedy, and frankly, it's pretty controversial these days. But legally speaking, its aim is to restore cohabitation, just living together, when one person has left without what the law calls reasonable cause. In fact, the court's first job is always to try and get the couple to work things out. The goal here is preservation, not dissolution.
Okay, so the next tool is less of a rewind and way more of a pause. This one is for couples who just need a break. They need a chance to live apart, but maybe they aren't ready or they just don't want to completely end the marriage. This is called judicial separation.
And this is the absolute key difference. Judicial separation is a legal pause. You get the court's permission to live separately, but you're still married. The marriage is legally intact. You can't go off and remarry someone else. Think of it as a kind of legal halfway house. Divorce, on the other hand, well, that's the big red stop button. The marriage is dissolved, it's over, and both people are totally free to move on and remarry if they want to.
All right, so now we're moving on to the more definitive tools in the kit. These are the ones you use when a marriage has really, truly reached the point of no return.
But hang on a second. Before we even get into ending a marriage, the law actually asks a much more fundamental question. And that is, was this marriage even legally valid in the first place? This is where a whole different concept called nullity comes in, and it is totally different from a divorce.
So, a decree of nullity is basically the law's way of saying that a marriage was flawed right from the very beginning. It's a declaration that either it never really existed in the eyes of the law or that it can be completely wiped off the books. So this isn't about a marriage that failed over time. It's about one that was never properly formed to begin with.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The law doesn't just lump all of these flawed marriages together. It actually splits them into two distinct types, void and voidable. One was basically invalid from day one, while the other can be canceled, but only if one of the partners takes action.
So a void marriage is one that was never legal, period. The classic examples are bigamy, you obviously can't be married to two people at once, or marrying a close relative. A voidable marriage, though, is different. It's considered valid until a court cancels it. This might happen because, say, consent was given because of force or fraud. The marriage actually stands unless one of the spouses goes to court to get it annulled.
And all of that brings us to the tool that most people are familiar with, divorce. See, unlike nullity, divorce is specifically for ending a marriage that was perfectly valid and legal when it started, but has since broken down.
Historically, getting a divorce wasn't as simple as just saying you've grown apart. You actually had to prove that someone was at fault. The law needed a guilty party and an innocent one. And the traditional ways you could prove fault were things like adultery, desertion, or cruelty.
But here's the thing. Our understanding of what's harmful has evolved, and thankfully, the law has started to catch up. The definition of cruelty today is so much broader. It's not just about physical violence anymore. Courts now recognize that mental abuse, emotional manipulation, and even things like financial control or denying a parent access to their kids, that's all cruelty, and it can be grounds for a divorce.
So once the incredibly tough decision is made to end a marriage, the next very practical step is, well, untangling two lives. And a massive part of that, of course, is figuring out the finances.
This is exactly where maintenance, which you might know as alimony, comes into the picture. And it's really important to get this right. It's not about punishment. The whole point is to make sure that a spouse, especially one who might have been financially dependent during the marriage, isn't just left in a terrible situation after a divorce.
So how does a court decide on the amount? Well, they look at a whole host of factors: the income of both people, the lifestyle they had, how long the marriage lasted. But here's what's so crucial, and it's a huge modern development. The law now values non-financial contributions. It recognizes the very real economic impact of unpaid domestic work, of raising children.
And that brings us to this really powerful principle. The law now says, flat out, that maintenance is a right, not some form of charity. It's a recognition that running a household and raising a family is a vital contribution to a marriage, one that has real, tangible economic value. It's a game changer.
And finally, that brings us to the most modern tool in this entire kit. Now, this isn't something that was in the original law books. This is a brand new path, one that's been forged by the courts to deal with the realities of modern relationships.
This really represents one of the biggest shifts in matrimonial law in a long, long time. It's a move away from that old system of trying to assign blame and towards a new path that just acknowledges a simple, painful reality, that sometimes a marriage is just over.
This new concept is called irretrievable breakdown. It's for those situations where a marriage is for all intents and purposes dead. There's no chance of reconciliation, it's completely unworkable, and forcing the couple to stay legally married is just dragging out the misery for everyone.
And what's so fascinating is that this ground for divorce isn't actually written into the original laws, like the Hindu Marriage Act. This is a special power that the Supreme Court of India uses under its constitutional authority to do what it calls complete justice. For couples who have been separated for years, where the relationship is just totally beyond repair, the court can step in and grant that divorce. It provides a final and frankly a merciful end to a marriage that's been over in all but name for a long time.
So, from tools designed to preserve a marriage to ones that are meant to end it with dignity, matrimonial law is always changing. It has to. It reflects our own evolving ideas about what partnership means, about fairness, and what it means to build and sometimes unbuild a life with someone. And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? As our society keeps changing, where will the law go from here?